Hello and welcome back to another round of Forgotten Orb 2 with FatJoe. And yesterday we had the big stream, but of course there were some technical problems, and Motovskiy Bay we couldn't really show off as much as we wanted to, so we will do another video. So,
Nice.
first of all, this map, Motovskiy Bay, was made by me. And it's the earliest Eastern Front map that we have so far, because it plays in April 1942, and it's also the only map in FH2 so far that plays in the Arctic Circle, so the terrain is actually fairly unique compared to other maps that we have. In many ways, this is more like a desert map than most of our Eastern Front maps, because, I mean, technically it is kind of a desert, isn't it? Just a very cold one.
Feels like home.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Joe is from Iceland, which of course I think has somewhat similar terrain, right? At least to a degree.
The lack of trees and foliage is on spot.
Well, there are trees on this, actually slightly more trees than in reality, just to give some cover, but not in this area, of course. So before we take an overview over the map, there will be some new weapons, because the Russians that fought here were Marines, and it was very early in the war, and they still had weapons that otherwise weren't really used all that much by the Red Army anymore. One is the gun that FatJoe and me are using. This is the PPD-34, which is the very first submachine gun in Russian service. Has a 71 round magazine and shoots the same round as the PPSH-41. So it is fairly similar, but obviously a different gun, and it wasn't that successful, not as successful as the PPSH-41 at least. But still, I think in-game it will be quite good. And again, I have a 300 ping. What the hell is going on today? Anyway, but that's not all. We also have the PPD-34-38, which was like an intermediate model. That won't be in the next patch though, and it only has like small differences compared to this one. So we will put that on some other map in the future. We are just gonna tell you we have that. Joe is using the rarer version with the, I think, 25 round magazine, is that correct?
Yes, 25.
Yeah. So, yeah, what we also have is the more common PPD-40. I'm gonna kill myself and spawn in with that. You can get that with the NCO kit on this map. And this one will also be added to more maps in the future. For example, the Operation Mars map that I'm making on my channel right now as a tutorial, that will have that in the NCO kit as well. Because that one, while not as common as the mass-produced PPSH-41, was fairly common, especially earlier in the war, up until like 1942. So that's what I'm using right now. This will, as I said, like the PPD-34, these will probably stay mostly on this map, because they were really, really rare. But this one you will see more of.
Okay.
So yeah, also similar to the PPSH-41. Shoots very fast, relatively controllable, but that one pulls a bit to the right. So yeah, these are the two new, or three with the smaller variant, but these are the new weapons on this. Another thing that's new is that the Russians, if I'm gonna look at the spawn menu right now, the Russians get infinite semi-automatic rifles, much like the Americans later in the war. And that's because,
yes, exactly.
That's because the SVT-40 was still very common early in the war. Later they mostly ditched that. On the other hand, they don't get unlimited submachine guns as they do on the later maps, because submachine guns were still rare. So in many ways, to me it almost feels like you're playing a completely different Russian team, because many of the staples, like the PPSH-41 that's on every other map, you can't even get here, you know, and even the rifleman kit is different. So yeah, I think that will be pretty cool. So,
yeah, sounds great.
What we will do now is, first of all, I want to talk a bit about the player models. These are using the Telogreika uniform. It's just a reskin of our summer uniform, and it's kind of a placeholder. For example, these the insignia here on the shoulder patches, for example, wouldn't have been used this early. So it's more of a placeholder. We hope that we can get at some point a really proper early uniform, or maybe even like a proper marine model. But for now we will use this instead, and this will also be used on other maps like Silo Heights, Dukla Pass, you know, these kind of coldish maps. So you will see more of that as well.
Nice.
Okay, let's take a look at the map. So, you know what? I'm going to tell you about the battle and the map while we're just going to walk across it. Alright?
That's great.
That sounds like a plan, then follow along. So, first of all, what you can see is that this is a normal conquest map. The Russians are defending in the beginning, so it's conquest assault, technically. The Russians have 5 flags. The Germans can attack from 2 different main bases. And it's infantry only. In this kind of terrain, tanks really could not be used. And so in many ways this is the only infantry-only desert map. And it's really geared towards long-range combat. So there will be a lot of sniping here. There will be a lot of machine gunning. There's actually more sniping rifles on this than on any other map, I believe.
Oh, really?
And
that sounds great to me.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of sniping. At the same time, I for the first time used a world machine and programs like that to generate the terrain, and it's way more complex than any terrain I've done before. And even though the map is like there aren't many objects on this, there aren't towns or anything. There's one little village, but so mostly the objects that are there are rocks. But at the same time, the terrain, the height map itself is extremely complex. So even if it is open technically, there's a lot of like little hills and little ditches and so on like this where you can take and find cover. And the flag zones, of course, are mostly on hills that have the original German names that they gave them, like this is the Herzogstein Hill. You can see that.
So what is this battle exactly like about? Because the place names have German names, but the Russians keep them. So what's the history here? Okay, the history here is that the Germans were holding this area. It's way in the north in the Arctic Circle. And from there they could threaten Murmansk, you know, the northern Russian city where they received their Lenten lease shipments, amongst other things. Yeah. Okay.
And so the Russians decided to throw them out of there and did a landing operation, which is why there, you know, where you can see the 12th Naval Infantry Brigade where we came from. There's a big Nevny class destroyer in the background, and that's where they landed. Now, this was not an Omaha Beach type landing. I think from here you have a nice overview from the Herzogstein about what the map is like. So that's where they landed. It wasn't Omaha Beach type landing where the Germans actually shot at them. They landed and seized a bunch of terrain, these hills here. There were some battles, but then the main battle is now where the Germans try to get them back and throw them back into the ocean. And that's what this is about. So the Germans are trying to get their old bunkers back. On the Herzogstein there are no bunkers right now, but we will look at some. And you will see they actually all face in the Russian direction because they are all German bunkers that the Russians have seized. So it's kind of an opposite of our normal landing maps. And if you look here, if you want, you can grab a sniper rifle. There are a lot of them on this map. As you can imagine, this map is basically made for sniping. Now
this is a great overview. All around, basically 360 degrees here.
The map itself, it is based on the real terrain. It is slightly actually scaled down, although obviously it's still extremely long range and big. But it's scaled down slightly. But all the lakes that you see and so on, they are where they were in real life, and all the hills are named as they were in real life and are in the correct position. One thing that
standard historical accuracy.
Yep, standard historical accuracy. One thing I was really interested in is also getting a unique look with the snow. So the higher you are, there's less snow, which is the opposite as it's usually, because this is in spring. It's in April 1942. I mean, it's still the Arctic Circle, but it's not necessarily in the depth of winter. And apparently what happened, or what still happens in this area, is that the snow melts first at the top, you know, where the sun, which is very deep.
Where the sun reaches.
Where the sun reaches first. So these gullies down here are full of snow, and then the higher you get, the less snow, the less snow there is. So for those people who
interesting.
Yeah. For those people who watch the video, I want to show, so this is the only real kind of build-up area. There's this little fishing village, or whatever you want to call it, down here in this gully, which is also there in real life. And here you can get another little Easter egg, a Thompson. Which of course you all know from the British and Americans, but the Russians did have some of them, and according to our research, again, Radio Smash found documents. This man is very good at finding cool documents, and he found one that told us, for one thing, that they had all these rare PPDs, but also that they had, I think it was 3, they had all in all 3 Thompsons. I don't know where exactly they got them, or where they got more ammunition for them, but they had 3 Thompsons. By the way, also with new sound.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. What Radio Smash also made was, and you will start hearing that when we go up here, he made a broadcast out of original Russian radio broadcasts from this time. And you can listen to that up here. There's a radio in this area here. Now you can listen to that. And here you can actually see the original maps from that area. So if you compare that to the mini-map, you should see some results here. So
nice.
It's basically this area with the original plan that the Russians had.
Okay, cool.
So what we will do next is commit suicide, go over to the Germans.
Right.
And spawn in the northern main base, Kampfgruppe Mounts. Oops. So one thing that you can see...
Which spawn point, sorry?
The one that is closest to the flag.
Okay.
Now one thing you can see here in the German spawn screen is that we are playing as Mountaineers, Gebirgsjäger, which were holding this area for obvious reason. I mean, it's very mountainous. So you can get the G3340, the short rifle that was only used by the Mountaineers. And what we also have, which I should have spawned in with, I'm an idiot, but okay, is the new MP38 submachine gun, which is basically the old version of the MP40. Actually, I showed that before in a video, and it's not necessary now. And also, we found some pictures of them using a captured semi-automatic rifle, so to show that, and in order to also balance it a bit, you can actually spawn in with an SVT-40 as the Germans as well, but it's limited compared to the Russians. But
nice.
that makes it a bit more balanced, and I think they have like 4 sniper rifles in the main bases alone. So
right.
There's one last little historical detail here. No, I forgot the name of the guy, but okay. There's a crashed plane here, and that existed in real life. Now, in reality, it actually crashed on this lake here in A3, A4, in this area, and this lake was frozen over at the time when it crashed. That was on April 29th, 1942, and it crashed here after actually ramming a German Messerschmitt. And
really?
Causing that to crash, and the pilot crashed in this area. He had a leg wound and then got shot by the Germans in the leg again, but he managed to crawl to his comrades and they saved him and dragged him to their own trenches. And yeah, that's kind of a nod to that guy's story, because this is where he went down. Oh, well, not here, but this general area, and we put this here at the exit of the German main base.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's cool. Look
yeah.
at that small detail.
Yep, nice little historical details, always fun. So yeah.
Always appreciated.
Anyway, that's Motovskiy Bay. Map made.
It looks great.
Yep, thanks. I'm quite proud how it turned out, because it was the first time I used many of these techniques to create this kind of complex terrain. And I think it's also fairly unique. Now I'm a bit worried gameplay-wise, because at the end of the day it is a very long-range focused infantry map. There's no tanks at all, or vehicles really at all. So I'm not sure many people will be completely amazed by it, but I hope it will play out fine, and it will be a very unique addition to the mod.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
yeah, anyway, that would be it. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, thanks for watching and have a nice day.
Bye.